I take quill in hand this 31st day of January in the year of our Lord 1804 to make entry to this journal. For on this day in the year 1758, I was born to Stephen and Rebecca Reed of Willington Township, Powell-Liberty County, Connecticut. My parents christened me Irena, and I now take hand to write my thanks to a benevolent providence for allowing such an unworthy one to reach the advanced age of 46 years. His goodness and mercy have followed me through the years and even into this wilderness place. His protection and favor surrounds me. Oh my, I did not know I had company. It is so seldom that we are graced by visitors. Please forgive my manners. Of course, you must be here to see the captain. Alas, he did not tell me to expect you, nor is he here. I expect you can find him, though, just down the river path to his mill site along the whetstone. He spends all of his time there right now. You must know how important the mill will be to this, our carpenter's landing. When it is finished, it will provide not only sawed wood for our buildings, but ground grain as well. Thanks be to God for providing the grinding stones from the many river concretions. But enough of my chatter. I am sure you care little for what I have to say. What? What you say? It is not, my dear Nathan, you have come to see? What? You want to speak with me? Whatever intelligence have I to share? You want to know about our journey to this wilderness place? How we came to choose this site? How we journeyed here and what we brought? And how I felt about leaving civilization? Well, dear visitors, to answer your inquiries, let me turn to my journal. Perhaps its entries will provide you with answers. But I must first give you some insight into my husband, a most courageous and adventuresome man, for it is to him that I have pledged my troth, and am bound to him and him alone, to love and follow wherever that may lead, even to this wilderness home. I will begin with this entry, October 10th, 1778. I have met a most dashing soldier, a patriot, having served in our glorious fight for independence since the very beginning of the war under Captain Parker's company with the Connecticut Volunteers. He was wounded in the Battle of Bunker Hill in '75 and has fought bravely yet again in the battles of Saratoga and Monmouth. I must add that I have felt a tug to my heart. Ah, yes, this day remains in my heart forever. February the 1st, 1780. Today, I have exchanged my name from Irena Reed to Mrs. Nathan Carpenter. God willing, bless our home with children and long life. But I fear I must give him up to the service of our new country yet a little while, as he must return from his leave not many days hence. And it was with great longing and not a little fear that I waited to write this entry. March 17th, 1780. It is with great joy and expectation that I receive today the intelligence of my husband's discharge. He and his brother Alan shall return soon. And this, March 30th, 1780. Oh, how I thank you, my Lord, for the safe return of my beloved. All is happiness within our Willington home. And there was great happiness in our home. The Lord began blessing us with wonderful children nearly every 2 years. Our first, Lucinda, we called Lucy. She was born in 1781, followed by Ira in 83. Next came John in 84 and Alfred in 86. Irene came to us in 88. All healthy children, blessed be our God. About this time, Nathan began to be restless. New areas of central New York were opening for settlement, and one day, husband broke the intelligence to me that he had intentions to uproot us from our native home in Willington to move to a place along the Shenango River in Shenango County, New York. The area was known as Oxford, and he promised me a grand estate where the children would thrive. June 18, 1794. Husband has received a deed for 90 acres in Oxford Township, New York, from Andrew Loomis and wife. And so it was that we took our leave from friends and family in Connecticut to a new existence in new surroundings. It is here that Nathan Jr., Sarah, we called Sally, James, Laura, we called Lori, and Charlotte were born, completing our family. Husband and I settled into our new life, building our home, farming our land, and raising our family. At this time, our new republic was working through its own growing pains. Intelligence came of treaties being made with the heathen, opening more land for settlement in the West. Land acts were passed for their purchase, and surveys were begun. The government, having no money for the veterans, began dividing the new land into sections and offering it for settlement in what they called the Northwest Territory. Lord have mercy. Who in their right mind would enter upon such an unknown existence? As for me, our move to New York was experience enough. There was a tavern some distance north of Oxford in the town of Norwich. The founder of that town was the keeper of the tavern, a man by the name of Mr. Avery Powers. Husband made stops there occasionally and began coming home with the intelligence of the pioneer expansion to the Northwest Territory. Each return from these trips to Mr. Powers' tavern brought more news and interest in the tales of fertile farming lands, moderate temperatures, and abundant waterways. February the 27th, 1798. Please, Lord, have mercy. Each time husband returns from a visit to Mr. Powers' tavern, I sense his restlessness and interest in this mounting wave of Western migration. Today he imparts to me the intelligence that Mr. Powers is preparing to leave on an expedition to the Ohio Territory to seek out the best land for purchase in the U.S. military district. August 31st, 1800. Husband has returned from yet another trip to Norwich and the tavern. There he found that a Mr. James Glover has just been granted deed to 4,000 acres of land in the U.S. military district of the Ohio Territory. He is seeking partners to sell off portions. I fear it is only a matter of time before husband breaks the intelligence to me of his desire to become a partner. Lord have mercy. November 15, 1800. The day has come, as I knew it would. A heavy early snow has fallen, and husband has just descended from shoveling the snow from our rooftops. He is furious and agitated. He says he's tired of shoveling snow, tired of this place, and has decided to leave New York for a new home in the West. Oh, how I tried to calm him and make him understand the folly of his thinking. How could we leave this home along the Shenango, which we had cleared and farmed, built our comfortable home, and raised our children. And the children. What about Lucy, 19 years old and of marrying age? Where would she find a husband in the wilderness? And wilderness is exactly what you are proposing to take us to. What of our little ones, James, Lori, and Charlotte, all under the age of 5 years? What of sickness and heathens and loneliness? Nathan Carpenter, have you lost your mind? Please, Lord, bring this man to his senses. He tried to assure me we would not long be alone. Even in our travels, there would be other men of the same mind who would select their acreage. Their families would follow soon. He reminded me of the many treaties made with the heathen and their removal to distant lands. We would have no need to fear them, he said. He tells me of the goodly river Whetstone bordering our proposed home site, where one of his first priorities would be to build a mill. That in and of itself would surely entice others to our settlement, he says. Hear this. November 16, 1800. Dear Lord, you know the tempest raging in my mind and heart. With all my being, I struggle against this new intelligence. My mind is full of fear and dread and every manner of questions which cannot be answered. I struggle even with the vows of obedience which I took on the day of our marriage to be led by this man. Oh Lord, I will call out to you for help and direction. And the help and direction came, not perhaps as I had hoped. Hear this entry, O visitor. November 18, 1800. The Book of Ruth, Chapter 1. Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. I have my answer. I will follow my husband. December 13, 1800. Husband has today taken $1,500 to purchase 520 acres of the U.S. military district lands in the Ohio Territory from James Glover. Avery Powers is purchasing adjoining acreage. William Sneely and Stephen Collins have agreed to purchase from the same tract. And so preparations for our departure begin. January 1st, 1801. A new year begins. We know not what lies ahead. I must put my trust in you, O Lord, and keep my eyes forward. The task at hand is daunting as we amass what is necessary for exodus and dispense of all relics of comfort. February 1st, 1801. Husband has set a departure date less than 2 weeks hence, of February the 12th. He has procured wagons and sleds for our conveyance. All manner of tools and axes for building and clearing have been collected. Precious seed corn is stored, and I and the girls are busy each day with spinning and preparing such food as can be dried and preserved. And this entry, visitors. February 12th, 1801. The day of departure has come. Do not look back, Irena. Though your tears flow, this day One chapter of your life closes and another begins. Set your face westward. Follow this man and trust in the Lord. So our journey commenced. Think of it, visitors. Try to envision the sight. Every provision needed to begin a new life in a hostile and unknown wilderness is packed onto sleds and into wagons. 10 children, the oldest 19, the youngest 1.5. Our fellow travelers, the Scribners, Samuel Sr. and Jr., John and Elias, the surveyor and others, all leaving civilization, hearth and home, and husband and Avery Powers leading the way. The going was hard and slow. Some days we could have gone farther and faster on foot. March 19, 1801. New York is now behind us. We camp today at Warren, Pennsylvania. The traces are narrow, full of boulders and stumps. The sleds fare far better than the wagons, as the snow allows easier travel for them. That be as it may, husband reminds us all that this is the best season for our journey, as we must take advantage of the snow's melt in days to come to raise the water level of the rivers we must traverse. It is no small matter, simply traversing the streams before us. I shiver not only with the cold, but with the terror of the unknown in my heart. March 24, 1801. Today we arrived at Pittsburgh. Such a hubbub of activity in this place. At least here, much needed provisions can be procured, perhaps even a real bed and a bath for our weary bodies as we wait for passage on the next flatboat to descend the Ohio River. March 26, 1801. Our possessions have been removed from the wagons and sleds and placed upon the flatboat. This strange floating cabin will now be our home as we descend the mighty Ohio River. The water level is high, as husband had hoped, and will carry us by swift current for the many miles to the Scioto River confluence. Husband has in hand a book of maps and navigation helps entitled The Navigator by Zadok Kramer. He feels it will be well worth the $1 it cost. We begin our descent amid a mixture of river traffic composed of dugout canoes, rafts, barges, flatboats, and keelboats. We traveled only by day, using the 40-foot cable to secure us at shore for the night. That is, until some in our party wanted to speed the journey by drifting at night. Husband was against it, but the majority ruled. All should have listened to the captain, for suddenly, in the dark, a great thud was felt, and all was halted, as our ark had struck a sawyer, which crushed the bow. Husband was furious, as the hold rapidly filled with water. Now, the boat was brought ashore, and all on board was rescued, but the next day was spent in repairing the damage, causing us a full day's loss of travel. Never again did we journey by night. March 29, 1801. Today finds us at an outpost settlement called Steubenville, 33 miles from Pittsburgh. Once again, some provisions can be obtained. I am thankful for these small glimpses of civilization, meager as they may be. Stopping also gives one's feet a chance to step on solid ground. The pent-up children exercise their legs by running, hopping, and chasing around, but never far from my watchful eyes. Day after endless day we floated, ever watchful of sawyers in the mighty river. It was a blessing for husband to have the navigation book. And thanks be to God for the safety from the elements and red men within the rude flatboat cabin. April 5th, 1801. We have reached a settlement of some size called Marietta. Husband says it was established in 88 by the Ohio Company and 48 Revolutionary veterans led by General Rufus Putnam. There's a fortress here called Campus Martius, which provides protection from any wild thing. April 8th, 1801. Marietta is a distant memory, floating, floating, ever floating. Early spring throws all manner of weather at us. Hour to hour, we cannot tell if we will feel the warmth of the sun or the sting of cold wind and rain. Husband says the rain is good, as it will keep the river high and our ark safe from sawyers. April 10th, 1801. Today we put in at a French settlement called Gallipolis. Our feet once again feel the solid earth beneath. What a strange and sorry lot, these people. The early immigrants here were tricked by the Scioto Land Company into purchasing this land, which rightfully belonged to the Ohio Land Company. We shall not be long in procuring provisions, as we have learned that there has been much disease here. April 13, 1801. We are all so very weary of this river and ark. I must remind myself of the many days that Noah and his family spent upon the waters and not complain. For food, there is abundant hare or squirrel, as well as wild turkey, and of course the river teems with fish. In this regard, we do not suffer, but my heart nearly stops until our hunters return from foraging into the forest. Thanks be to God for safety within the walls of this floating ark. April 16, 1801. At last, and God be praised, we have finished the first and longest river course. We will leave the Ohio River to ascend the Scioto River. We will also trade this floating ark for a keel boat. All must be unloaded and reloaded onto much the same kind of a boat, though this one must needs be pulled upstream, sometimes aided by sails, should the winds blow from the south. The men and boys will have their muscles tested on this portion of our journey. April 20, 1801. Husband says we will soon stop at the newly established capital of the Northwest Territory, an Indian town called Chillicothe. When frightened at this intelligence, he assures me that the heathen have been removed through the recent treaties. Still, I shall keep my little ones close. The days grew warmer, and spring was unfolding before us. I cannot tell you of our delight at the sun upon our faces and the emerging green upon the trees and bushes. April 23, 1801. We have achieved another milestone, having reached the confluence of the Scioto and Whetstone rivers. Here we find 3 or 4 cabins carved out of the forest. They call this site Franklinton. It is here that we transfer all our earthly possessions and the very souls of our family into large hewn-out canoes. Now begins the shortest, but perhaps hardest and most frightful leg of the journey yet. We will no longer be provided with the safety of the keelboat cabin, but rather be totally exposed to all that nature or heathen should hurl upon us. God be gracious and protect us. April 29, 1801. It is nearing the end of April, and husband says the end of our journey is near. All about us is dark forest, and of course, the river, The birds sing. An occasional small furry animal or deer can be glimpsed at the water's edge. The sun is warmer each day, but it is daily impressed upon me how very far from home and civilization we have come. Husband reminds me that Mr. Powers is no stranger to this place, having traversed this route previously, and that we will soon come to our land. I ask you, O Father, to remind me of the promise I made to follow this man. And now I shall read for you the final entry of our journey. The date is May 1st, 1801. I make this entry with trembling hand, not that I am cold, for the sun is shining. I tremble from fear and loneliness and uncertainty. Husband and Mr. Powers and all others who accompanied us are a bundle of energy and enthusiasm. The children are simply relieved, for today we pulled our barks ashore, and husband has proclaimed this place Carpenter's Landing, our new home. This wilderness place is what husband spent $1,500 and 2 months and 18 days of our lives in weary traveling for. So this place is to be my home. Once again, I will read those precious verses in the book of Ruth and ask that you, Lord, will protect and sustain us as we rebuild our lives together in this place. I continue to put my trust in thee. And that, dear visitors, is the story of our family's journey to this place. As you look around and see, the Lord has been gracious to us, despite all my fears. Very quickly, the men began the task of clearing and planting and building our cabins. I must add that as soon as husband had proclaimed this place as Carpenter's Landing, the heavens opened and the rains fell for 8 straight days. That did nothing to assuage my feelings of despair. But in 3 short years, much has happened. As you see, we have a substantial dwelling here on high ground overlooking the river. The land has proved to be fertile, giving us great yields of corn. The building of the mill is well underway, and we have neighbors. As husband said, by the fall of that first year, the Powers family arrived to settle on land adjoining ours. And up and down and across the whetstone, other families have come to settle as well. Only last year we became part of the newly declared state of Ohio. Yes, we are a part of the United States of America. The captain could not be prouder, and even the little ones have adjusted, grown, and remained well. Yes, our journey was wild and frightening, and one I would not choose to repeat. But I cannot say that the Lord was not ever present then nor now. And so it is with the deepest gratitude that I repeat, as I penned just now in my journal, His goodness and mercy has followed me even unto this wilderness home. Irena Carpenter died August 7, 1804, at age 46, and became the first burial in the family cemetery located on the Carpenter property on Chapman Road. Her youngest child, Charlotte, followed her in death in 1810 at the age of 11, and her second son, John, died in 1811 at the age of 27. However, all other children lived into old age. Nathan Carpenter married Naomi Cornell on June 18, 1810. He died September 9, 1814, at age 57, as a result of a fall from his horse. His grave is located in the family cemetery. Though he was known as captain, his military records indicate that he was a private during his service in the Revolutionary War. He perhaps attained the rank of captain in a Connecticut militia while living there after the Revolutionary War. A final quote, taken from a brief history of the early settlement of Fairfield County by George Sanderson in 1851, says, "In the recital of the facts here recorded, the present and succeeding generations are made acquainted with the perils and hardships which the first settlers endured for their sakes. For it is not often that the father of a family undertakes the dangers and sufferings of a frontier life for his own benefit, but rather for the sake of his children and their descendants. The present generation can form no just conceptions of the wild and wilderness appearance of the country in which we now dwell, previous to the settlement by white people. It was, in short, a country where nothing dwelt but beasts of prey and men more wild and fierce than they." As the first white woman to settle in Delaware County, Irena shared with her husband all the toils, sufferings, hardships, and privations incident to the formation of the new settlement. Though these journal entries are a figment of my imagination, they are based upon documented facts and published histories. Even while researching, however, many discrepancies were found in the manner of dates and the spelling of names. Dates of journal entries which are starred are documented and correct. Settlements mentioned along the river routes were probable stops, but not mentioned in the family history recorded in the History of Delaware County, 1880, by A.E. Goodrich, a descendant of the Carpenter family. Many sources were used for research, which will be listed separately, but much information was gleaned from the hard work and research of Judith Brozek and Richard Converse. My eternal thanks to them for their donation of this information to the Powell-Liberty Historical Society.